everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'll be sharing a process video on creating these 4 cards, and these are from the Holly Jolly card making kit from Close to My Heart. Now I am currently a consultant with Close to My Heart, so I'll go ahead and have all of the items I use today in this video linked down below in my description box. Now this kit comes with everything you need to create 4 of each design, and it includes, of course, the detailed cutting instructions and assembly instructions as well. You do also get the stamp and thin cut set along with the thread. And here we have 16 card bases, all on white daisy cardstock, and we also have 16 envelopes. You do get 2 sheets of white daisy cardstock, peach cardstock, and black, as well as the pattern papers you'll need to create these cards. Now, if you have purchased with me in the past, I recently sent you out one of these card kits to create a card of your own, so you can follow along with me with this video and put together your card. So there I showed you guys, instead of watercolors like the card kit suggested, I am going to be using the Spectrum Noir markers, which are definitely a lot easier to use than the watercolors. And I will go ahead and add the exact colors I use on this project down in my description box. So first off, I'm going to begin by doing all of the cutting. And here I'm just removing the branding strip off the pattern papers and cutting each of them down to size. And I am following along with the instructions from this kit. Now, the instructions for this kit can be found on the Close to My Heart website. You can definitely download and print off these instructions. And here I found a little tip that might be helpful to you, to go ahead and label your cuts. Each of these pieces that I cut off, on the part of it that you won't be seeing, I added the number of that cut. Like, for example, one of them would say 1B, one would say 1C, 1D, and so on. And I added those labels to the side that will be adhered to the card base, not the side you're going to be seeing. So next up here, I am going to go ahead and stamp off all of the images and create all of the accents that I need for my cards. And I'm not going to let you watch all of it being done. I'm just going to give you guys an idea of how I did this. Here we have all of those frames where I'll insert messages from the stamp set. And there you can see I also added some on that peach cardstock as well. So you can see here, I decided to stamp out my images before die cutting them, and I'm using my Cuttlebug here, but soon you'll see I will switch to my Sidekick instead. And like I said, I stamped these out first, but with my elf, I decided to go ahead and die cut him out first before stamping him. And that way I will go ahead and get a better image on there, because the elf is in 2 separate pieces. So I wanted to make sure I had my stamp centered pretty well on him. So I'm going to use a stamp block first to show you guys. You can definitely use just a stamp block. I know a lot of people just use their stamp platforms, which I will use as well. But I wanted you guys to see how I use the stamp block to go ahead and stamp him off. So I'm going to go ahead and line up the pieces of my stamp of my elf to the image, and then place the stamp block on top of both of them. And that way I'll go ahead and ink up my stamps and then stamp it on that die cut paper. Next, I will go ahead and switch over to my platform, where I will go ahead and finish up the rest of them. So now that I have all of my images stamped out, I'm going to go ahead and begin coloring in my elf. And if you do receive a card kit from me in the mail, you will go ahead and color these in yourself using whatever color medium you would like. So for my elves, I am using the Spectrum Noir markers, and I will go ahead and add the exact colors that I used down in my description box. And you can see I use a shade of skin tone as well as green and red to color these in. Now I wanted to add that these markers are super easy to use, and I did not do any shading on this project today. But if you would like to shade with these markers, they're perfect. They have 3 different shades of each color on each marker. So for example, the green, you get a light, medium, and dark. And there's also a colorless blender available in the Close to My Heart website, so you can check that out as well. Now I had multiple to do today, so I decided to just go ahead and use 1 shade of green, 1 shade of red, and so on for my images. So next up, we're going to go ahead and assemble the cards step by step. And if you are assembling along with me, just go ahead and pause the video and complete the step and then come back and continue along. Of course, you're adding your adhesive to the side of the paper that I wrote on. And each piece of paper you receive should have the number piece that it is. So here we are attaching 1A to the card base, and we're also going to attach 1B as well. Now we're going to embellish 1C with the thread and then attach it to the base. So here, this thread is a little finicky. So what I did was I added some adhesive to the back side of that black cardstock. So that way the thread will stay in place, and I'll be able to add 2 strands around as I'm doing right now. Then I'll go ahead and create a bow. Now, once I create that bow, I will use a glue dot to adhere my bow to that cardstock, and then I'll go ahead and adhere that black cardstock with the thread to my base. Now to add the adhesive behind the cardstock, I'd strongly suggest you use the tape runner and not liquid adhesive, because it just would not stay in place. You will definitely need time to allow it to dry first. So this tape runner is definitely a better choice. So next, we're going to use a journaling pen and draw a doodly border on 1D, and then you're going to attach that to the red and white pattern paper as shown. Once you're done attaching that to the red and white pattern paper, you're gonna go ahead and attach the elf with some 3D foam tape. And I'm gonna show you guys the foam tape that I use, which would be from Close to My Heart, but you can use any foam tape that you like. They do suggest a thin foam tape. And I do go in with some smaller pieces on the feet because they were sticking up just a tiny bit. So next up, we're gonna go ahead and attach the gift bundle and tuck it right under the little end of the hat, the pom-pom, like I'm gonna show you right now. And once we're done doing that, we're gonna go ahead and attach the special delivery accent, and we're gonna use some foam adhesive under that part. And then you're gonna attach the holly accent as it is on that little special delivery banner. So you can see here how easy this was to complete, and it made it a lot easier because I labeled all of my pieces before I began assembling them. So now we're going to move on to card number 2. And for this card, we needed to go ahead and prepare 2E using a sentiment that says, "You made the nice list." But first I needed to go ahead and color in part of it, and I'm using the red Spectrum Noir marker, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp over that. So now that we have all of our pieces ready, we're going to attach 2A to the card base. And we're going to go ahead and what they're saying, dovetail number 2B and then attach it. And that's basically just adding what I call a fishtail. And I'm going to show you guys how to do that with scissors. So next up, we're going to go ahead and attach 2C. And you can see that this pattern paper runs from the bottom to the top of the front of the card. And then we're going to attach 2D. Now, when we're attaching 2D, we're going to use some thin adhesive, foam adhesive, as I'm doing right now. And it has a tip here to not use adhesive along the top side of that black piece of cardstock we're attaching right now, because we will be attaching the elf right on top. So here we're going to attach 2E and 2F, and 2F is the branding strip that we cut off at the beginning of this video. Now we're going to attach the top part of the elf only, so that's why I'm cutting it off. And we're going to tuck the head of the elf behind 2D and let the pom-pom sit on top of 2D, which is that black cardstock. Then we're going to create a little bow with the silver thread and attach it to the front close to 2F. And I did adhere it using some glue dots. And this would be card number 2. So for card number 3, we're attaching 3A to the top, 3B to the center, and 3C to the bottom of the card. So next up, we're going to go ahead and center 3D on the card base and attach it using some thin 3D foam adhesive, like I'm showing you guys right now. And then we're going to go ahead and center 3E on top of that black cardstock and attach. So now we're going to go ahead and add the elf to that pink cardstock using some foam adhesive. Next up, we're going to go ahead and attach the sign accent, and we're going to tuck the top left side of the sign under the elf pom-pom. Now we're going to add a little bit of embellishment using the thread to the bottom left corner, as I'm going to show you right there. And you can see I'm adding some of that tape runner again. And that's how I get my little cluster of thread. I just added on there because once I tried to bunch it up in my fingers, it just wasn't staying properly. So it was a lot easier to do with the adhesive on there. Now, once you add the holly accents, you don't notice the adhesive that's holding down the thread. And here we have card number 3. So for card number 4, we're going to go ahead and attach 4A to the card base, and then we're going to embellish 4B with the thread. And because it's so finicky, the thread, I will show you how I went ahead and adhered this thread so that we can get that little cluster to the right side. Now you're going to go ahead and add some adhesive to the back of the cardstock, and making sure that the thread is shorter on the right side than it is on the left. And that way we can have the cluster towards the right side, as you can see here. Then you're going to go ahead and adhere 4B right below 4A. Next up, we're gonna go ahead and attach 4C right below that black cardstock. And then we're gonna attach 4D using some foam adhesive. Now, once you're adding in 4D, be sure to pull your thread over towards the right side like I'm doing right now. And there I added some adhesive on that black cardstock just to make sure it stays in place. And that way we can go ahead and create a little cluster of thread, and I'll show you guys how I do that once I'm finished adhering 4D. So next we're going to attach the elf to that white cardstock, and then we'll add in the sign accent using some foam adhesive, and be sure to tuck the top left corner of your sign below the pom-pom, and then we'll attach the special delivery accent as shown. There you can see I also added in the holly accent to the right corner as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video today, and here we have our beautiful cards. Of course, you get enough material to create 16 cards altogether, 4 of each design. And these were so simple to put together. The instructions were very easy to follow, and I really love how these turned out. And I cannot wait to play with these elf stamps and die cuts and use them on other projects as well. And I'll be sure to share them here with you guys on my channel or in my Facebook group, which I'll have linked in the description box. So I want to thank you all for watching today, and until my next video, bye.